Steven, you've been a part of this program for quite some time now, but now this is your program. When did it hit that, hey, this is my team?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it really hit Taylor until the day that John, offered me the job, which was that Sunday. And then obviously that first practice when you're kind of out there and, coach isn't there anymore and, they're kind of looking to you for answers and things like that. That's when it all kind of sets in. But, it's still very surreal, and it really still hasn't, a month in, really set in that this is what it is, But it's obviously a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It's a once-in-a-lifetime honor to be able to lead this program, and I'm just trying to enjoy every single day of it.
In an era of constant movement, really throughout all of college athletics, your players had the opportunity to go elsewhere, a 30-day window, and they all decided to stay loyal to each other, loyal to the coaching staff, and loyal to this program. What is it in your eyes about Auburn that makes it a place that people don't want to leave?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question because it's so true as to why they decided to stay. People ask, why? What were the reasons? Was it the relationships with each other? No. Auburn is such a special place, and all these kids have been here since June 1st, and they've developed relationships in the community, relationships, with their professors, with the administration, and ultimately, I feel like, the holistic experience that Auburn is really helped these guys in their decision to come back, in addition to them spending so much time with one another, in addition to wanting to finish what they started, in addition to their relationships with me and with the staff. So Auburn's a special place. I think if you look at a lot of other places in the country, if this had happened the moment that it did happen, there would have been some turnover and you would have lost some guys. And I think one of the biggest things, when we're talking to, recruits or just donors, all 12 guys return, they're like, wow, that really speaks volumes of, not only the program, the culture, but Auburn as a whole.
Pro Day was, I think, a little over a week after your introductory press conference, and that's when you announced that both Tahaad and Keyshawn Hall had informed the team that they'd be staying. Can you walk us through what those conversations were like and what the reaction was from the rest of the team and the rest of the staff when they said, hey guys, we're here. This is where we're staying, this is where we're going to play, and we're committed to this team?
When it comes to our conversations, can't really talk about the specifics of what we talked about because I got to respect the privacy of the things that we talk about behind closed doors. But they were all very open, honest, transparent conversations. We were able to get out any concerns and just make sure that we were all on the same page. And once we were able to do that, I felt like all 12 guys felt really, and it wasn't just those two guys. We had those conversations with everyone, right? And, that was basically 10 days of just, reassuring. And, a lot of them were very easy conversations because, we've recruited such great, young men, but we've recruited such great families, which made our job so much easier in the transition because they were all on board right away. So, very smooth, very easy conversations. And ultimately, these guys had conversations amongst each other, let's keep this thing together. Let's finish what we came here to do. And let's obviously deliver and go out there and play some great basketball.
While there wasn't much continuity on the roster when you look at last year because you had a senior-heavy team, there's a lot of continuity throughout this coaching staff. What's your relationship with the guys that are working with you now like, and how much have you leaned on them throughout this time of transition?
Yeah, I mean, it was the first thing I said when we got together as a staff after BP told the staff what he was ultimately doing is, I'm going to need you guys because, I'm a first-year head coach. While I have a lot of confidence in what I do, I have a lot of confidence because I'm surrounded by those guys, right? They give me a ton of confidence in what we do day in and day out. And we've been together for so long, like you said, that it's made, the transition a lot easier because so much of what we've done on the court, off the court, we've all done together, and we all have our hands all over the success of this program. So, having guys like Ira Bowman, who's been here for 8 years, Mike Burgermaster's been here for 10 years, Ian Borders 8 years, Damon Davis, the entire time we've been here, Clark Pearson, so on, Marquise Daniels, so many guys have been here for so many years that it just felt very seamless when the transition happened because we'd been doing this together since, for so long. So having those guys, by my side makes my job a lot easier. And, like you said, I'm going to lean on those guys a ton this year to help me through some difficult situations. And I feel like together we're going to be able to get through everything.
When it comes to your off-the-court life, you have your wife, Brittany, and a little girl. I think is she 1 yet?
She's 10 months right now.
10 months.
Yep.
So you're going through a transition professionally, but what has the transition been like in terms of balancing leading a major program and then being present in raising a young family?
Yeah, it's tough, to be totally honest. I think, when Coach made myself and John aware 2 weeks before his decision that he was either going to coach this year or he was going to step down, I had to have a conversation with my wife that was basically like, listen, if this does happen, like, things are going to change. Like, I'm not going to be around as much because it's going to require so much of my time and attention, for us to be successful. And her first question was, how can I help you? And, that's for as a coach, you look for a wife that just gets it, right? And Brittany just gets it. And she understands like what it takes for us to be successful. And I love her so much for that. It's obviously one of the things that I took from BP was it was very important to him that his coaches took care of home before they took care of anything. So like if your kid has a soccer game, you better go to that damn soccer game. If your girl's got a dance recital, you have to be at the dance recital. I don't care if you leave practice. I don't care if you miss a recruiting visit. Like if you aren't right at home, you're not going to be right here. So, we obviously try and keep that in mind. I'm not able to go home as much during the day to see them, but in the mornings I try and spend as much time with them when she wakes up, and then I try and get home as close to bath time as I possibly can. So, it's obviously been an adjustment, but I'm so lucky and fortunate to have a wife that just understands the needs that, as far as the time that I have to put into this for us to be successful.
At SEC Media Days, Tahaad was asked if he felt like the team had 2 head coaches last year because he knows how much the assistants, the support staff plays a hand in the success that we see on the court. And he said, I felt like I had 5 head coaches. And I think that every single one of our assistants could be a head coach somewhere. How much do you think the culture that you just spoke about plays into the fact that, hey, these guys aren't leaving. These guys have probably had opportunities. They have the ability and the talent to maybe take a bigger position, but y'all are staying together.
Yeah, I think it speaks to Auburn again, like we talked about. Our coaches' families love this place, right? They have young children that want to grow up in the Auburn City schools, and their wives love it here. They have a great community of friends. Like, it's just a place that really, brings you in, and it's hard to leave, right? So I think, our coaches understand that they're in a great place professionally that's going to allow them to not only advance professionally, but obviously, still be able to take care of what you need to take care of at home. And I think their wives and their families, appreciate that and love that. So it would take an unbelievable opportunity for those guys to leave. And they all have had opportunities to leave. But like Tahaad said, like we have 5 guys that all have very, very unique strengths that, head coaches can bring to the table, and all of us together, I think gave all those guys all the confidence they needed to know that this was the right decision for them.
You've spoken a number of times about how Tahaad's role will look different this season. He's not the 6th man. He's now taking on a leadership role, and that's something that y'all have trusted him with. When it comes to his on-the-court play, where have you seen the most improvement when comparing the end of last season to now when y'all are getting ready to kick off this season?
Yeah, his pace and his tempo, I think, are a little different. He's able to get to his spots on the floor at a different level than he was a year ago. Offensively, he's going to do a lot of the things that he did last year. He's going to make tough shots. He's going to take tough shots. For him, it's about trusting his teammates a little bit more, which is something that he's had to grow in over these last few months because they're going to be sending multiple guys at him every single game to try and get the ball out of his hands. So for him, it's about trusting his teammates. And I think, the reason why he came back the first time, when he was trying to decide if he was going to be in the draft, he saw the collection of guys that we had around him: Keyshawn Hall, Keyshawn Murphy, Sebastian, Elyjah, right? Like Abdul, he saw a group of guys that, he knew that he could rely on if he did come back. So trusting his teammates is a place that he's grown. His on-the-ball defense, I think, has gotten a lot better. He's still got to improve off the ball a little bit, but I think he's obviously cognizant of that. His pace and his tempo in practice the last week and a half has been unbelievable. Since the Oklahoma State game, I think he realized he needed to make an adjustment with how he approached things in practice a little bit more, and I think it's been really beneficial for our guys, and it's really helped us have a really productive week and a half since that first scrimmage. So, I'm just excited to kind of watch him throughout the year just continue to accept a different role, but also accept a difficult position. I've talked about it at my press conference and a few other things. Like, Tahaad's opportunity right now to show NBA scouts and GMs that he can handle what it's like to really play in the NBA, because, you know, there's transitions, there's trades in the NBA all the time, and you can't just leave, right? And Tahaad didn't leave, he stayed. So when this team has some success, he's going to get a lot of credit for it, so I'm excited for him for that.
You spoke about the exhibition game, the Oklahoma State game, and it's true that that is a great opportunity for coaches to get a little preview of what their team looks like, see, you know, where our strengths, where our weaknesses. But for you this year, it gave you an opportunity to kind of have a dress rehearsal of what a game day looks like now that you have additional responsibilities. How impactful, how important was it for you to have that opportunity? And you have another one next week, I believe, to go through a game day before it's a real game day.
I mean, it for me, like, it was huge, because you go through the game and you realize, like, oh crap, there's a few things that we haven't actually done yet. Like, we haven't done like a center jump yet. That was weird. That was unique. I was like, and the second it happened, I'm like, oh crap, like, we hadn't actually practiced this yet. Now it's early October, so, like, you know, that's a little unique to play a game that early, but it was so good. Like, the first time out, like, we hadn't really talked about as coaches what we want to do in the first time out. Like, we want to get together in a huddle and talk about adjustments. Like, we hadn't even communicated that yet. So, like, for me, it was I told the guys this yesterday. I was like, what did you guys learn? And they told me all these things. Like, you guys got to realize I learned a ton too. Like, it was great for me to be able to be in that environment and obviously those situations, because there was a lot of things that obviously I picked up on. You know, I thought we were, you know, late in the game. Like, I thought we made some really good decisions as a coaching staff, you know, playing zone at the very end right there. I thought that was a really good decision. That's something that, you know, when I talked to some of my head coaching buddies, they're like, we thought you made a lot of really good decisions for a first-time coach. Like, you called a timeout, you know, when there was really nothing, when they had just scored and you guys were coming down and you got to a side out of bounds play. Like, those things were so good for me, because to be in a tight game, an overtime game in your first game as a head coach, you know, really taught me a lot about myself, but also it also helped me learn, like, some of the adjustments that we got to make for obviously the Memphis game, but then obviously for our first regular season game against Bethune-Cookman.
When it comes to recruiting, you have high school recruiting, and then you have the transfer portal. Auburn's had a lot of success finding guys that are playing Division II basketball, JUCO basketball, bringing them in, developing them, and then, you know, we've seen the Janai Brooms, the Denver Jones, the list goes on. What characteristics and traits do you look for guys, specifically when you're looking at recruiting out of the transfer portal in comparison to high school, if there are differences that give you confidence that they can have success playing Division I basketball? Y'all did it again this year with Abdul Bashir, Elyjah Freeman. It's something that Auburn's had a lot of success doing. Is there a difference in that recruitment?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff that we're looking for, Taylor, are just efficiencies. So we want our guys to, you know, have good numbers coming out of whatever school they're coming from. Like, we'll look at that first before we even watch film. And then once we watch film, we'll obviously try and let those two things correlate into, all right, does this fit in our program? But in addition to that, more than anything, like, we've done a great job of identifying people that fit what we currently have. And that's not something I think is talked about enough. Like, a lot of people go out there and just try and find the best possible players, even though they don't fit in their system. We're going out and finding the best fits for what we do offensively and defensively. And like Janai and Denver and Miles and, you know, all those guys, Chaney Johnson, Chad Baker, Elyjah, like all those guys, Keyshawn Hall, Keyshawn Murphy, those guys fit what we do systematically. Which then allows us to put them in positions to be successful. Oh, and they also did it at a very high level where they were and shot good percentages and had a niche that they were really good at. So we kind of combine all those things, but also at the end of the day, like, are they great people? Are they going to be great in our locker room? You know, are our guys going to get along with them? So like all those, it's not just like, you know, watching them on film and be like, all right, that guy can play. No, you got to figure out, like, are they going to be able to gel with what we currently have, but also do they fit into our system and allow the rest of our guys to be successful?
I've got to watch a couple practices, and then the exhibition game. Kaden Magwood has stood out to me as a work ethic guy, an effort guy. His hustle, it seemed like he was the first person to, you know, wherever he was supposed to be going. What can the fan base expect to see from him as a true freshman, and how much growth have you seen as he's making that jump from high school to college basketball?
Yeah, I mean, I love Kaden. I recruited Kaden out of high school. Love his dad. You know, they've been so good to us, and they were one of our first commitments. You know, Kaden is just a kid that has got a lot of special to him. You know, he can he can make some shots that no one else can make, right? And he'll take a shot and you'll be like, that's a bad and then it goes in. So like he's got that, that to him. And we have a lot of point guards in the past that have been like that. So Kaden's super coachable. His biggest thing is he's just got to be more consistent. In the days that you've seen him where he's been really good, if he does that every day, he's going to be an elite player. He just has days where he'll be really good and then days where he's just okay. And we've talked about this, and he understands that. And that's not a rare thing for a freshman to do. It's a learning curve, right? He's been the best player everywhere he's been, and now he's coming in and he's playing behind an All-American. But he's also trying to figure out, is there a way I can play next to the All-American, right? So for him, it's just a learning curve. He's done an unbelievable job of, being coachable, listening to constructive criticism, and growing from it. So he's just continuously gotten better, and if he sticks to it, he'll continue to obviously, become a better player and a guy that's really going to help us this year.
Elyjah Freeman is a guy that you've described as, someone that you can play basically 1 through 5. Right. He's versatile. How beneficial is it to have a guy that can play a number of roles?
Yeah, I mean, Corey Williams has done such a good job in evaluations over the last couple of years. He recruited Elyjah, he recruited Sebastian Williams-Adams, two guys that are just Swiss Army knives. They do a little bit of everything. And Elyjah is a guy that, offensively you can put him 1 through 4, and then defensively he can guard all 5 positions. So it's huge having a guy like that from the Division II ranks who's coming up, and he's on NBA draft boards right now. So people see the promise and the potential that he brings, and he's a guy that obviously impacts winning. One of the best compliments that Elyjah's gotten is when I've asked his teammates, who do you want on your team? His name comes up a lot. So for that just tells you how much he impacts winning and how much, how unselfish he is and all the different areas that he brings to the success of a team. So he's going to be, obviously really important for us, and obviously been really excited to watch him grow, in our first couple months together.
The first time that we were able to talk to players this season was before Pro Day. It was a couple weeks ago, and my question to all of them was, what's Steven Pearl like as a head coach? And they were very complimentary, but one thing that they all referred back to was the fact that they have you to look up to. They have you as a role model. Abdul Bashir said, there is no one that I would rather play for, because as a man, that's someone that I want to be like. What does it mean to you to hear that that's how your players talk about you, and what kind of impact do you want to have on them, not only as basketball players, but as men?
Yeah, I mean, I saw the interviews, and that was very, very reassuring and very cool for me to get that validation from some guys that I recruited, but also I respect. And it obviously says that, so far I'm doing a good job, and for me, obviously I want to make sure that stays consistent even when we lose a couple games. I need them to still feel that way as the year goes on. So obviously I'm incredibly proud that those guys are a part of our program, but for me it's just about continuing to act like they want to at some point in their lives, or be able to handle difficult situations in a way that obviously helps them grow and obviously get better from it. So, it was very reassuring. It was very cool. We're still obviously trying to figure out rotations right now, so that could play into it a little bit. But no, I mean, I love these kids. It's a great group. It's a group that I've had a lot of fun coaching so far, and I enjoy coming to work every day because I get to see those guys.
Y'all have a very, very difficult non-conference schedule, similar to last season. And it's beneficial to play those games because you're challenging your team early in the season. What will your message be when, everyone faces adversity?
Right.
When you do face that adversity, what's the message that you send players or have sent players in the past that lets them know, hey, it's okay, it happens?
I was literally thinking about this last night. For us, it's how do we grow from here, right? You can't get too high, you can't get too low. When we were winning all those games in the non-conference last year, we told our guys, listen, that just makes the target bigger on your back. So, if you get too high and you think your stuff don't stink, somebody's going to come after you and they're going to get you, right? So you got to stay humble, and you got to stay hungry, and you got to stay just immersed in the process. So for us, win or lose, we can't get too high, we can't get too low. We got to stay consistent with what we're doing every single day. We can't be front runners. If we win a big game early, don't let that success get to your head, because next week we're playing at Arizona. We're playing in Vegas against Oregon and Michigan. We're playing Purdue. But also if you lose one of those games, the great part about our non-conference schedule is if you get tripped up, you have an unbelievable opportunity every other day with what we have to make up for it. Okay, so it's just an unbelievable opportunity for our guys to, one, get better, but 2, like be able to handle some success and some adversity. But we always tell our guys, like, you know, don't get too high, don't get too low, and just stay true to what we're doing every single day, and the end result will take care of itself.
What's been the most surprising thing to you about this team so far, on or off the court?
Off the court, I think it's just been their relationships. Like, it's really rare for a team of 10 or really 12 new guys to gel so quickly and get along together so quickly. So off the floor, you know, has been just that. But then on the floor, like, their energy in practice has stayed pretty consistent so far since June. Like, we've had good energy in practice the entirety of our time together, which is rare, because sometimes, like, you know, it's easy to be high energy like early in the season, right? Because everyone's excited about getting out there. Our guys have done it pretty consistently for a while now, which I think gives this team an opportunity to get better each and every week.
To wrap things up, at the end of the season, despite the record on paper, what do you want people to say about Steven Pearl's first team at Auburn?
You know, for us, like, it's always been about, if our team goes out there and plays with the most effort and energy, those are teams that we want to be remembered for. Like, teams that never quit. You know, teams that, if we're up 20, we're still playing like we're down 10, right? Or, you know, if we lose a tough game, we're able to bounce back quickly. For me, it's like, you know, I want our teams to be resilient. I want our teams to fly around, play with unbelievable effort and energy. Like, it's a team that, you know, is just going to do all the things that they got to do to be successful and win. But more importantly, Taylor, like, if our team can improve week by week, that means that we as a coaching staff have been doing our jobs to obviously get through the highs, get through the lows, and are able to find a way for this team to play their best basketball in March. So if we can do those things, I'll feel really good about it.
So you've played one exhibition, you have your next in Atlanta. Yep. Do you have any message to the fan base before the season officially begins in a couple weeks?
Yeah, just stay with this team. You know, we're going to play a really difficult non-conference schedule. Like, you know, the chances of us going 12-1 in non-conference like last year, like, probably not as good, right? But it's going to be a team that, you know, and I know it's just, it may be a little repetitive, but, like, I really believe this is a team that can get better each and every week. And it's a team that came here to play for the best fans in college basketball. They've seen what the jungle looks like. They've seen what Neville Arena looks like in a big home game, but they've also seen our fans travel. I need our fans to continue to do that. Then you got to show up in Atlanta when we play Chattanooga. They got to show up in Birmingham when we play Houston. You know, they got to travel to Ole Miss and Alabama and Georgia, like places that they've historically gone to that give us that additional courage and inspiration and motivation to win games. So continue to participate, continue to travel, and obviously continue to support this team. This team will give you something to be excited about.
Hey, well, sometimes it's easier to get a road ticket than it is to get a ticket in this place. So hopefully that's not something you have to worry about. Well, thank you for your time. I know that you're busy right now, and we really appreciate it. Good luck this season.
Thanks, Taylor.